make up friends, and it's up as in vertical, as in higher, as in ascending, as in awareness, right? Not make up friends, like create friends, right? So this concept came alive from conversations I've had this week with parents, and just understanding how this generation thinks and how the athletes have been kind of responding to coaching and things like that. So a lot of athletes are currently dealing with concepts around just attitude, um, just perception, things like that. Because right now, obviously, we're dealing with multiple generations. Before, generations were kind of the same because there was no social media, right? So you would have a person say, "This is what it is," and then that mentee would then hear it and be like, "Okay, I understand it." There was no pushback, right? Now, I was a part of that generation where because I said so was a thing, right? If a coach would say this and I would ask why, like, what do you mean by this? Because I said so. That's it, right? And then the next generation was still a part of that because I said so world, but they still had reference of the computer, right? And it wasn't like the phone, it was the actual computer. So they would have to go home and compare these things. And there was still time to understand. Now, these kids are going into a space already having their own knowledge and understanding of whatever it is, right? So now when a coach or a coach or mentor says XYZ, do this, do that. The kid's going to say, "Well, that doesn't make sense because I'm used to seeing this." Right? And that makes it harder because now you're being met with resistance if you're a coach or a mentor, right? The element of that is challenging because it went from do as I say to I hear you, let me try it, and then I'll assess how I feel after, to now it's no, I already have this way of thinking. It's harder, right? And so I was thinking about how does this play out? How do we adjust this? How do we educate our mentees or athletes to where they're at least neutral or open to guidance and support? So the first thing is um, there's this concept that I've heard many, many times that you're a reflection of your five closest friends. And this concept is very, very true, right? When you're in a space where all your friends, your close friends, don't make any money, they're just broke. They live with their parents, or they don't go to school, or they do drugs, or whatever it is. If your five closest friends do this and you're trying to explain to someone how good of a person you are, and you're like, "Yeah, but my friends do this, but I don't do that." Like, it's hard to believe that you don't do those things when that's who you hang out with. Majority of your time is spent with these people that do those things. Okay. Um, so it comes down to your environment is based off of that. So now if you're an athlete or even a coach, like think about and look around who you hang out with the most. So let's go with the coach's perspective, right? You're a coach and think about who you hang out with the most. If you are a teacher or work a regular 9 to 5 and you also happen to coach, on the side, the people you hang around with most aren't going to be coaches. They're going to be your coworkers. They're going to be people that you spend most amount of time with. So now if you're trying to become a better coach, you hanging around those people isn't going to be the accelerator that you need to become the best version of a coach, because they spend 8, 9, 10 hours doing that skill of whatever they do, whether it's teaching or whatever. So it's going to be more of a challenge. So what do most coaches do? They sign up for these camps and clinics, webinars, and they learn, right? They essentially going to a space where there's people that are learning from a specialized person, So they're removing themselves from the people that they're normally with. That's exactly the point that I'm trying to get across, right? You also have that same concept with the athletes. If you're an athlete and you're looking to be a state champion and you don't have a state champion friend, well, then the biggest thing is you probably should make friends with state champions, whether they're present, like on pace to be a state champion, or they have already made, the state championship honors. Okay. If you're not in that space, you're not speaking that language. Yes, there are a bunch of teams out there that outside coaches would say, oh, that coach is only good because they recruit the best athletes. That coach only has, championships because they're always, getting certain athletes that already have experience, or they're just recruiting the best athletes. You get what I'm trying to say. And reality is like, if they're getting state championships for whatever reasons, they're getting state championships. It doesn't matter how they get it. Now, there are coaches that don't respect those coaches that are just recruiting. They're not really developing. They're still getting state championships. Their business model happens to be different than yours, but the outcome is still the same, right? If you're an athlete and you're saying, I want to get better, and all those kids are doing this workout, like, or they work with this one coach. Well, the reason why they're getting better is because they have all this extra money to work with private coaches or to work with whatever. No, they just applied themselves. Yes, they may have more money to hire the specific coaches. However, all the information that they're getting can be received by some shape, way, or form. There's so many ways to do this. And here's like an extreme tangent, but it might tie in. Um, Someone asked me, you know, how if you wanted to go to a certain college and it was your dream school and you didn't get in, what would you do? And I was like, I would get into the school. And they're like, yeah, but you didn't get in. I said, I would still get into the school. And what I mean by that is, if my dream school was UCLA, and that's where I really, really, really wanted to go to, and I was declined or rejected by the school, and that's the only place I wanted to go, I then would look at, okay, could I go to junior college and then apply next year? Could I, go to a regular 4-year university and then do my grad school at UCLA? Like, are there any certificate programs I could take from UCLA? Like, I would figure out those things. And if those were not options, I then would literally find someone that's enrolled in the school and say, hey, I'll pay you money to go to the classes and teach me what you're learning, right? Or not pay you. And do me a favor, I'll help you with your class. I'll help you become a better student. Simply, let's do study time. Whatever you learn, we'll sit down and we'll study this concept together so we can figure out how to get you a better grade. In the meantime, I'm still learning, right? And this all ties in to make up friends. It's because it's like, what if that person in the class that goes to UCLA wasn't one of my friends? They have something that I'm looking to have. They have an experience I'm looking to gain. I can then befriend them and offer them a service. Friendships and relationships, I believe, are all based around transaction, right? I have friends that do for me, but I make sure I do for them. And that's how it works. I have friends that specialize in certain areas of business, and I specialize in other areas of business, and we always work together. One of my friends, Gina Shiramonte, she's an athlete parent of mine, and she's a professional photographer. Well, I wanted to have a photo shoot. I hired her and paid her her value for the photo shoot. So it's like there's a value there, right? I helped her daughter get to college with track and field knowledge and mentorship, and she's helping me with getting professional pictures, right? So think about this, right? The people you hang around with the most, and it's not even just people, it's the environment you hang around the most. Is that conducive to you becoming the person that you want to become? If it's not, you must make some changes today. Don't try it later. Don't make adjustments later. Do it now. If you're looking to go to a D1 college, well, then how many hours are you spending on a D1 college? Help, like, make it make sense. If you're a senior right now and you want to go to a D1 college, look at what school, D1 university, is nearby you, and then use that as your place that you hang out all the time. Walk on campus, go to the library, and do your homework for high school on the campus, right? If you're a track and field athlete, go to that school and work out on the weekends, right? Make friends with these athletes on campus. Ask them what's going on. Like, put yourself in this environment. Whenever you go on family vacations, if you do that, visit schools. Why can't you say, I'm on spring break, instead of going to the beach, I'm going to go to XYZ schools and visit them, right? Put yourself in these spaces. So you want to make up friends, go upwards. Wherever value that they can offer you, you want to go chase that. But I will say, you must offer a value back to them. Okay. My This is another tangent. I'm pretty sure you understand what I'm talking about now and you get it. But I want to add this extra story in. My brother, he's an artist, right? He raps. And he was like, I'm trying to get studio time and I'm trying to get seen. I'm like, why don't you go clean up the studio of your favorite producer? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, offer to clean up his studio. So whenever people come every Thursday night or whatever, you'll come and you'll clean the trash up. And he was like, I don't get it. I'm like, you can say, listen, what I'll do is I'll clean up for the month, right? And at the end of the month, if I can have 1 hour of studio time, right? Maybe not a month, maybe 2 weeks, whatever it is, what can I do to earn studio time from you? And then that person will tell you exactly what he or she needs from you, right? If that works from you, well, then after you finish 6 months of cleaning up, now you have 6 hours of recorded studio time from one of the best producers around for free, essentially, right? It's like, just put yourself in these environments and see what happens. Now, if you do something, right? Or even if you can't get studio time, you just are able to sit in there and clean up very slow, picking up a little piece of trash, one piece of trash at a time. And you're hearing the conversations that they're having with these producers and the artists. And now you're bumping into artists that are famous because they work with this producer. And it's just like, hey, can I sit down with you for lunch? Like, anything. Just get in front of these people to befriend them and to build your network. And I promise you, you being in that space is going to help you think differently. All right. I'm going to leave it there. All right. That's all I got to say.